Go. Thank you, Amy Johnson, aka Rainy Day Shopper. Welcome.
Thanks, Ty. I'm so glad to be here.
Cool. Kind of give everybody your background. Where are you from, and where are you from originally as well? Or where are you located at?
I am in Oregon, which is where I'm from, but between being born here and coming back, I've lived in Seattle, New York. I worked in Shanghai for a while, and I came back because my mom was battling stage 4 cancer, so I wanted to be closer to home. So
Okay.
that's also why I started reselling, is because mom was sick and I wanted to be able to work part-time so I could spend more time with her. And it worked out really well because she's the one who first took me to yard sales and thrifting. So she was excited to be a part of it and she got to help me. And it gave her something to do that let her have a purpose. So it was really a brilliant thing that we got to do together at the end.
Very cool. And then let's just kind of jump into that then. When did you start thrifting with your mom?
Basically when I was about 3, I mean,
Okay.
I probably went before then because we went to yard sales and such, but when I was about 3 is when I remember I'd get to go to yard sales and choose things I wanted.
Mhm.
Um, I grew up in a place called Felony Flats. It used to be a really nice little place in Salem that was just cute little homes, but it was near the state pen. And so a lot of people would rent places there. My street was nice, but if you went a street behind us and a street in front of us, there were definitely some issues.
Scares
Um,
people.
yeah, a little sketchy, but it was fine. It was a great place, and there were super nice people around. But we definitely had tight budgets
Mm.
when I was growing up. So going to yard sales, thrifting was something that we loved to do. And I actually started thrifting, thrift flipping, which I didn't even realize until I was talking to mom. She's like, "Yeah, we used to go to the yard sales, and then we go when you outgrew the stuff, we take it to the consignment store and sell it, so you could get more stuff there." I'm like, "Oh." You started all this. It's your fault, mother.
Your mom was a hustler then.
Yeah, she knew how to work things. I will definitely say that.
What's your earliest thrift or garage sale memory then? What's like, do you have like a find that you remember seeing or anything like early age?
Um, we mostly just found like clothes and toys, but we'd also do rehab and refurbish things. So one of my favorite things is my mom and my cousin found me this rolling cart, and it was like all beat up and crusty and had like rusty wheels, and they brought it home, painted it green, put black and white tile on it, and I had it in my kitchen for the longest time holding plants. It was just so cool. One thing I do remember that was super sad, in Salem there was a Goodwill. It's now the Bins in Salem, but there was this velvet coat. It was black velvet and had, I'm sure it was silk. In my mind, it was silk lining with which was yellow and white. So it looked like this really cool designer piece. And at the time, we didn't have the $10 to get it. Like we were there for something, for a costume or something that I needed for school, and I couldn't get that coat. Like I still remember that missed out thrift find because I'm sure that that was like $1,000 coat. If I had it now, I'd flip it for 1,000.
It's funny, those ones that we miss often are the most like haunting compared to the ones that we actually do, you know?
Yeah, it's just, and mostly like I specialize in clothes. I love vintage clothes. So I'm not necessarily finding like the $1,000,000 flips or whatever. I'm not opposed to them if I find them, but it's just not necessarily where I go first. So that did make the challenge for HAMMOQ a little difficult because I don't know these things off the top of my head. Give me designer. I'm like, okay, I'll take that. Vintage, yes. But I'm excited to see how that turns out too.
Yeah, we're actually editing it right now. It's there's some funny moments across the board. Like it's gonna be fun. It's gonna be fun. And on our end, we want to do these really crazy kind of Mr. Beast style videos. The next one I think might even be more interesting. That let's just say that. So
Nice.
again, like talking on the phone, it's about how can we bring as much attention to everybody involved, and then kind of grow that massive, try to grow as massive as possible, and bring everybody with us as possible.
Yeah, I think that's fun. And I think for me, it was just super fun to get out of the house. I haven't been thrifting because mom was sick. Like I left the house 10, 15 times in the whole time for COVID when we were on quarantine, just because that was not a risk that was worth taking. So I've been doing most of my sourcing online.
Yeah, let's
Um,
talk about it then. So, kind of give everybody how are you sourcing online, and do you have any tips or tricks that people can use to start sourcing online?
yes. So I've been sourcing on Shop Goodwill. I don't like sourcing as much on ThreadUp. I also been dabbling a little bit. There's a um which one is it now? Oh gosh, now I'm gonna not remember it because I haven't done as much there. But Shop Goodwill is where I've done most of my sourcing, and I find looking for typos. Like I can get Doc Martens really cheap because they spell them wrong. Now people are catching on to that, or they'll put in bed like airwear instead of Doc Marten, and so I'll search for that. Now I just gave that away, so there go my Doc Martens. But I think I one of the cool things about the reselling community is everyone is so helpful, and there's so much stuff. Like there's not a limit of stuff. There's never going to be too little stuff.
Mhm.
And so like I don't mind sharing. That's one of the reasons I started having a YouTube channel too, is because like I just want to just share this. I'm like, I don't really know what I'm doing. I'm home with my mom who's sick, and I just want to connect with people. And it's been so fabulous because people are so positive and super helpful. Um, but the other thing I do is when I find something in the I'm kind of going all over. Sorry, I get so excited.
Good.
When I find something that I really want and I win an auction, the thing you can do on shopgoodwill.com is you can combine up to 20 pounds in most places. And so I will try to fill up that box because for one item, for the most part, paying $7 to $14 in shipping is not worth the cost of goods.
Yep.
But if I can balance that out amongst, 10 to however many items, it makes it more palatable. The trick though is a lot of the shop Goodwills have handling fees too.
Mhm.
So you also have to like they're charging $2 to $3 handling for an item. You also have to factor in that. So I think paying close attention to those fees can really make sure you balance things out and get a good profit. I just flipped a pair of shoes that HAMMOQ listed, and I paid $2 for it plus shipping and handling probably 7, and I sold it for 140. So
Nice.
yeah, and they were
It-
awesome shoes, so it was still a good deal.
and they come directly to your door too, so you can obviously scale that exponentially based on because you limit to anybody listening. You limit your time going out into the thrift, right? You limit a certain amount of hours a day. Can you take away that? You can even outsource that as well. Once you get docs, you can obviously get to somebody else to actually start buying.
Absolutely, and I mean, I love thrifting, so going out, like, doing the challenge was super fun because 'cause I'm like, "Oh my gosh, I'm just gonna go to the thrift store, I'm so excited." Um, so that's not a big deal, but there is a time limit. There's only so much time in a day, and I'm a part-time reseller, so I've got a farm, I've got a job, I've got a whole bunch of other things that are responsibilities, so when I can get this done is in very small spaces. And going out thrifting is kind of a fun thing. It's a relaxing thing for me. But if there's not time for it, I still have to find inventory. I still have to do that. And the cool thing about that is like, let's just segue into a little advertisement is listing on eBay has been like my nemesis. I've been on eBay for 2 years and I only had like 200 and something listings. And I was trying to get those scaled up and I was selling here and I'm selling there, but HAMMOQ right now has just made my sales go through the roof. So that's been really exciting.
Awesome. First and foremost, thank you for that. And two, there's actually something that were really cool as well. Are you giving our VAs the photos off of Shop Goodwill, or are you taking photos again on your end?
I take photos again because often the photos on Shop Goodwill are just not
Not that good.
good photos. If I can rip them and clean the background up, I could, but I'd rather because I need to inspect, I need to make sure there's no flaws because there are flaws. The good thing about that on shopgoodwill.com, if you find flaws, people might think, oh, I just need to eat this.
Mhm.
I go back in and I will email the company. And for the most part, they'll either refund me or give me a discount or give me a return label.
Okay.
So there is that risk when you buy online, you can't inspect the items. But we all know when we get something home from the thrift, we'll see this giant spot we didn't see in the store because
Yep.
the lighting's bad or whatever, and it happens. So that's part of it's also a tax write-off if I have to throw it out or if I have to upcycle it in some way or redonate it. But if I don't have to eat that cost, I prefer not to. So that's a tip for shopgoodwill.com is make sure that you communicate with them. They're super nice.
Can you return the items on Shop Goodwill? And there's what kind of return rate or return window?
Most of the time you can't return. It'll say no returns, but even on those, if there's damage or something was misleading, I just bought a Coach purse and it's super cute, but it has some spots on it. And so I just sent them a note and said, "Hey, this has some spots. I'd like to return it if possible, or a discount or whatever." And they're like, "Yeah, we'll send you a return label. Just send me some pictures of the damage." I'm like, "Cool." So I need to get that actually in the mail today when I'm done here.
Nice. And then can you kind of go down like how are you? So you look at errors in typos and other things. Is there any? Do you search by brand as well? Do you go down by brand? Like then you search. Then do you put all of them on a spreadsheet and then try to estimate the cost, or are you just going based off when they end?
I will save things.
Okay.
So if I find something in a search, I will search by brands or specific brands I look for. I, of course, look for vintage
Mhm.
because that's something I like, but often people don't know something's vintage and so they won't put it under that. So I can't limit myself that way.
Mhm.
Um, One thing that's kind of fun to do is go in and see what's just about to close that has no bids on it. And if it looks potentially like a good flip, I'll just go ahead and buy it at whatever the price is. And then I go into that store and look for more things to add to a bundle with that. Because sometimes no one will have seen an item for whatever reason. And so you can get it for the first cost. And sometimes the items are as low as $1.
Yep.
So often I've paid up to $50 for something from shopgoodwill.com just because the cushion will be there.
Yep.
So I will definitely flip it for enough profit. But I do think you have to pay close attention to those kind of things and know what you're grabbing. If it's a lower cost item, yeah, take a risk on it because that's how we learn.
Mm.
But with the shipping and handling fees, I'm less likely to take as many risks on Shop Goodwill unless it's something I just like, oh yeah, that one's gonna sell. And knowing what flips in your store, because stuff that sells in my store may not sell in other people's store.
Definitely, and
So
and all goes down to where the people are posting as well across the board. So two things let me kind of clear up for everybody. You need to go to that same store on Shop Goodwill. Their inventory, you have to buy 20 pounds on that to get the cost deduction. Correct?
yes, and what you can do is if you go into the item, so you click on whatever item you have, you can click on the store information and or it'll just tell you what store. Like this is from the Goodwill from Orange County, and you click on that, and then there'll be a button to say see more items from this seller. And
100%.
so that took me a while to figure out like where that was. But if you see more items from the seller, then it'll give you all of their things. And you can sort by buy it now, you can sort by ending soonest, you can sort by price lowest to high. Unfortunately, you can sort by category, but you have to go like you can't just see all the clothing.
Mhm.
You'll have to go clothing and then like sweaters. I'm like, I
Yep.
don't want to see just the sweaters. I want to see all of the clothing, but I don't want to see, the guy's box of nuts and bolts from the 50s. I don't want to see that right now. I mean, I do actually love tools and I love flipping old metal, but actually I use it to weld with. But I haven't done that for a while. I'm still working on my welding skills. But so I love that kind of rusty, crusty stuff, but I don't necessarily want to pay the shipping for it unless it's something amazing.
Yeah, 100%. And after this call off air, I gotta tell you something that's super cool. You'll definitely get a kick out of it, and it's about Shop Goodwill. But we'll keep
Oh,
it off
nice.
air. It's we haven't released it yet, so it's gonna be it should be cool post in the future.
Awesome.
100%. And then so why clothing and why only clothing mostly? And then obviously clothing includes shoes and like accessories, correct?
Yes. Well, I actually do hard goods, I do decor, I do vintage, all that kind of stuff. Most of it is just what's easy to find. With mom sick, there's one little thrift store on my way home from work, so I could stop there for like 10 minutes, half an hour, pop in, grab a few things, and then come home and hang with mom in the afternoon. So she wasn't home alone so much. So because I work part-time mornings. And so that's really what the best finds are at that local thrift. Now I'll find hard goods and some occasional sporting goods or things like that there, but I'm going to go with what's easiest to source for me.
Mm.
I've been doing mystery boxes on my channel, my YouTube channel. And so I've gotten some interesting things there that I actually need to go out and research. Like I have an alternator and I'm not sure if I think it's used, but I don't know if it's sellable. So I need to like go take that somewhere else. It's not an easy flip. Like I have to do way more in-person legwork because then you're like, okay, is this, but I'll just go to the local parts store and they'll tell me and they'll be fine with it. I think I'm probably going to do a video about going, I have some interesting things that I need help researching from experts. So I might do a video like a day of like, how do you do that? Like, how do you go up to people and approach them so they want to help you? Because most people are super happy to share their knowledge. It's nice to be recognized for what you know, and I think people don't get enough of that.
Yep, 100%. And the auto parts is fantastic. There's a lot of money in auto parts. We used to do that back in the day as well. Go to the body shops. You can get headlights for $5 to sell for $300-400, but your higher end stuff. It's good money either way.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, that's my ex was a mechanic, and so I'm just kind of like, do I just send him the pictures? He would totally answer, but I'm like, I want to find it out on my own. So, but yeah, we have, I still have boxes of car parts around here that eventually I'm either going to scrap or flip.
And then, what do you prefer, garage sales or thrift stores, or flea markets, or a third category?
I love the garage sales in my area.
Hmm.
So it is, the prices are still pretty good. You do get the occasional people who print out the ticket that like, this is what it's selling for on eBay. I'm like, good luck getting $50 for that there, like 10-year-old Beanie Baby. Go for it. Good. You got that. But the prices are really good. And it's just fun to meet and talk to the people. I think that's really a cool thing about reselling is like making those connections and getting more of a community feeling.
Hmm.
I think that's something that, especially with this whole pandemic thing, is been such a thing that we all miss, is that community connection.
Yep.
And so it was so nice that I had YouTube during that time, because then I could like, yes, I can share all my fun things with my friends on the YouTube, and it still gives a place for people to build those connections when you don't have them necessarily around you. Um, so, because like I said, I live out in the country, and so there's not a lot of people around. I do have to drive a bit to find the people.
And then, how far are you from like a thrift store? Where you at?
It's not that. So my local thrift is one of the reasons I go there too, is because it's on the way home from work, but it's only about 20 minutes away.
Okay.
Otherwise, it's about an hour to any other thrift stores.
Very cool. Awesome. And then let's kind of jump into like a kind of your milestones and where you kind of want to be in the next, let's say, year or 2 years into your reseller journey. So how many listings are you at right now, and an estimate of the revenue you make off those listings?
Oh gosh, math? No one told me I needed to know these numbers. On Poshmark, I've listed 4,000 items. I've sold around, or well, over 4,000. I'm almost up to 5,000, and I've sold around half of those items.
Nice.
I think right around 2,000 is where I am now, but that's not counting anything I've sold on other platforms. My main focus has been Poshmark, just because it's super easy. And I was just in the habit. Plus, I tried to get mom to switch to eBay because she was helping me list. And she's like, I can't do another platform right now.
Yeah.
No. So I'm like, okay, we'll just go to that first. But I am switching now to listing all on eBay first. And I'm kind of thinking by, I'm going to say December, but I think by August, I think by December, definitely my sales on eBay will outperform my sales on Poshmark.
Mhm. We
Which
see that yeah, we see that across the board. Just like the amount of traffic eBay gets. Usually, the if people are on both, 9 times out of 10, their eBay sales are double, if not triple, their Poshmark sales across a majority of the time. At least, obviously, there's some people that their Posh do as well.
Yeah, I think my Posh, I sell daily on Posh, and I sell multiple things daily on Posh. I mean, it's rare if I have a couple days where I don't have sale. I'm like, what have I done to you, Poshmark? This is not okay. The algorithm, we're buddies. But Poshmark takes a lot of babysitting. And so it's just not, I don't think it's viable for someone who wants to have a life in the long term as far as a sales platform goes. I think it has great potential, but that having to share stuff is just, eh.
It's like they try to bring the social aspect instead of the long form, which like the eBay long form, it's give and take, I guess, on that side.
Yeah, I mean, if I cared about, but it's not really social because you're just, there's no actual connection with the people. You're just sharing their items,
Yep.
and that doesn't do anything to help their sales. So I'm like, that's such a waste of time. Please
Yep.
don't do that. But having to share your own stuff just to get it into eyes, I'm like, eh. But I definitely think that eBay is going to be outperforming Poshmark, and my goal really is is I would like to, within the next year, not necessarily go full-time as far as that goes, because I do like working, and the benefits, like not having to pay for benefits is super helpful.
Mhm.
So, because that's a huge cost there. But I think being able then to pay off my student loans is kind of the next goal.
Okay. And then, how many listings are you trying to get to, and kind of, or is there a milestone in terms of revenue, listings, freed up time, or be able to transition?
I'm trying to list 10 new items a day on eBay, and then cross list 10 items a day on eBay from my Poshmark listings that aren't over yet. So I'm aiming for 10 to, well, not 10, 20 to 35 items a day. Really, 20 is kind of my minimum up on eBay daily right now.
Okay.
And so that's something that, like, I don't have the time to do on my own.
Mhm.
So that's why you guys are helping, because you're drafting, and then I can get in there and do my quick corrections and double check my prices, and then like, done, done. And I just have to worry about my ones that I'm pulling over from Poshmark. So that's my goal. I don't have a goal other than the 20 new listings on eBay a day. It's
Okay.
just getting that in there, and getting the, once I get in the habit of that, once I get in that in pattern, that's when I'm like, okay, we've got this pattern set. What's my next target?
Which
So
is which is good, right? A lot of people say like, "Oh, make X amount of dollars," or "I'm trying to get to X amount of revenue," but it's all goes back to like what you can control, right? You can't control eBay, you can't control buyers. It's I can control sourcing, I can control listing, processing, and shipping, right? How can you focus on those like areas instead of focusing on like because like I know I did it when I first got started as well. It's like I was focusing too much on the revenue. You start going too deep in that. You were like, oh, why didn't I make money today or make as much money today? And it's a rabbit hole that goes down fast.
right, and I can totally control my listings. Like, I can get those up. That's something I can do. And for any listing that I put up, I'm looking to usually triple my investment. But for clothing, it's usually quadruple or more
Mm-hmm.
my investment, because I'm looking for a pretty low cost of goods. My cost of goods has gone up because I am using shopgoodwill.com,
Yep.
but that's a calculated increase to get different kinds of items that are pretty unique. I just got a pair of Fluvalog, however you say that, shoes, and those, depending on where I list them, they probably will flip for 100 to 200. So, paying
Nice.
20 bucks for them, not a big deal.
Oh, well worth it at that point.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
yeah, it goes back to the concept that then you can just scale your time so much more exponentially across the board.
Yeah.
And then, what's been your best find so far? Let's go on Shop Goodwill and off Shop Goodwill.
Oh gosh. Um, on Shop Goodwill, I think there's a pair of the shoes that I just sold. I love them the most because they were so undervalued. They
Mhm.
were $2. They didn't have a size. The brand is Conti, but it's not anything. And they didn't know. So they were a Killam. And I found this. So, like, the Killam was the fabric on the outside, leather. They were handmade, vintage. And like I said, $2 plus shipping and handling. So probably in $7 to $9 on those. And I listed them at 149, and they sold within, I think, 3 to 4 days.
Dang, that's
So
wild.
yeah, and it's just, I love finding those things that people overlook.
Mhm.
Because I'm not necessarily an underdog, but I'm kind of a goofball. So I'm kind of like, I get overlooked in places. I'm like, that's okay. You'll figure out later that I'm awesome. But it's like those things. I'm like, oh yeah, someone didn't get that. And like, I get that. And I can get that into the hands of someone else who's gonna love that. So that's just kind of, I like finding things homes where they feel really good and they're gonna be loved and treasured. So
That's interesting, like thought process. Like you feel good about getting those items into somebody else's hands that they're gonna enjoy instead of the person's. Like normally people would look down on resellers, like oh you resold this, but realistically, unless it's a PS4 or a PS5, which I'm still trying to buy, unless it's that, like I agree 100%. At least we can go and find somebody that needs that product. It's we create it's market dynamics, right? We help facilitate those market dynamics.
right. And the thing is no one, if I don't know, I never even really thought when I started reselling that there was a negative connotation or anything with it. I was just like, oh my gosh, this is so cool. Because I would go to my local thrift and there'd be all these great clothes and I would buy them to give to my mom's friends or to give to my friends. And my mom's like, dear, you've got to stop buying Connie and Shelly, you've got to stop buying them clothes. They don't need that. I'm like, but they're so awesome. And they're just sitting there and no one is taking them home. And they'd be like for 50 cents on their clearance day.
Yep.
And I'm just like, and so when I was like, I can resell those things. Connie and Shelly's closets are saved. And now these cool things that were just going to be discarded are going to get into the hands of people who can love them and wear them, like brand new with tags, amazing, cool, funky vintage jackets, cool things that aren't my size, or otherwise I would have a closet as big as my inventory storage here. Thankfully, not everything fits me because awkward. But yeah, so I think that was kind of how I started reselling. And I don't think there's anything negative about that. I think finding these cool things that are otherwise going to be trashed, and our cycle of consumption is crazy.
Yeah.
Like just that whole, the designed obsolescence. I think of this example. We had this fridge that was this little old ratty red fridge for probably 60 years that we had, like it moved from one house to another. It was my grandma's and she gave it to my mom. We had it like out in our back porch for like drinks in the summer for kids. So we didn't have to traipse in and out of the house. 60 years we had that fridge and it worked beautifully. Now they could still make fridges as good as that, but the fridge we got to replace that one finally lasted about 3 years. And the fridges, my parents had over a year of they bought a brand new fridge that didn't work and had over a year of someone having to come back and fix it before they finally like replaced it with a fridge that actually did work. And that's just crazy.
Yep.
Like that cycle of consumption and destruction is so harmful. So like the fact that I can be like, oh yeah, I got this cool thing and I'm going to give it to someone who really loves it. And yeah, I'm going to charge more for it because my time is worth it. But if I charge too high, no one's going to buy it.
Yep.
So if that isn't valuable enough to someone, they're not going to pay for it. But my goal is to get something in people's hands that they're like, oh my gosh, I love this. And they're going to treasure it. And that's a cool thing. I mean, I think that's really what I love about reselling is that finding things a little home. Because I think everyone needs to feel wanted and needed. And so those little objects that you can like, here, you want and need this, and it's going to like make you feel valuable too. So I hate to like compare ourselves to stuff, but we are definitely a consumer society. And so there's that thing about like, let's have that stuff that we're like putting our value on, like what stuff we have, at least have that stuff have meaning and have some history behind it, and let that stuff be something that's not just like exploiting someone overseas that they're making it for 5 cents and then it's being sold for 200, you know?
Yeah. We ran the kind of numbers, even like the amount of clothing. Clothing is number 2 for anyone listening. Clothing is the number 2 most devastating to our planet in terms of pollution.
Yeah.
Each item that we resell in terms of a piece of clothing that's not jeans. Jeans are even worse, but each item about 1,800 gallons of water, which you save, right?
Yeah.
A lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, the fact that I can do that, like there's so much I can't change in the world. Like I can't change the school system, which needs it. I can't change like how people treat each other, but I can change like the fact that this piece of clothing is not going to go to the landfill, which then has its own issues, has its own destruction, is not going to be shipped over to a foreign country. Like, oh, well, we send our clothes there, which destroys their economies.
Yeah.
Like if we send our clothes to other countries, we're destroying economies with our own waste. We're like, oh, we don't want to take care of this junk here. You guys have it. And we close down small businesses. We close down people who were weavers. We close down people who were seamstresses. Like, oh, sorry. I'm just like, it gets me so frustrated. But like the fact that I can be like, okay, I'm going to keep this piece of clothing or this piece of cool decor, these cool shoes that have tons of life left. I'm going to keep those from going on to destroy something else. I think that's super valuable. And I really love that aspect of reselling.
100%. And we're coming up on the end. I don't want to waste any more of your time. First and foremost, Amy, thank you for jumping on this call.
Yeah, it was super fun, Ty. I'm just really appreciative that you invited me here, and it's nice to be included. So thank you.
Definitely. And then check Amy out on Rainy Day Shopper on YouTube and Instagram. We'll post the links below. Any questions, comments, concerns, you can always let us know. And again, thank you. Catch you guys later.